And then I found the Holy Grail, a spreadsheet of sorts, all very organized, each woman numbered, each woman ranked, contact details, and so much more. Wow, he was so much more a player than I ever thought. Way more. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, going to go over a story titled Broken Agreement, Discovery Dilemma. And a big shout out to Dave for sending me this story. And guys, this story, which you can clearly see is very long, there is pretty much no other way to describe it other than being a total SHIT storm. There's no other way to describe it. This is a story about a woman, this is told by her, who's been married for a while, and she had a what she describes as a midlife crisis. And she was cheating on her husband, got caught, and in order to try to save the marriage and fight for the marriage, as she describes it, she proposed to her husband to have an open marriage, where he could go out and hook up with other women, and no surprise, she could still hooking up with other dudes, fighting for that marriage. And lo and behold, you're going to see in this story, guys, in this very long, detailed story here by her husband gets in an accident where he's in critical condition. And lo and behold, events lead to her discovering this guy, not only was he having an open marriage, but he had many lovers. Many, many, many lovers. More than she thought. And was engaging in a lot of activities that shocked her, amongst many other things. And she is pissed at him and thinks he's the devil because he was doing exactly what she told him to do. Now, he did break certain key rules you're going to see in their agreement, probably set by her, and you can understand she's pissed there. But the whole bottom line is this. This whole thing started because she cheated, and she proposed the open relationship. And once again, this proves that open relationships, open marriages don't work. Okay, if two people go into it, both into that lifestyle, that's one thing. But if all of a sudden that's the idea to fix a marriage, it's never going to work. It's going to end up in disaster. And in my opinion, this guy was doing this, taking it to a whole new level, probably as an FU to her. You should have just ended it with her, end of story. So, gonna get started here. And guys, this is, like I said, this is a long one, but it's worth it, and definitely the more entertaining one I've done in a while. So get your popcorn, get your beer. She says, hi, long story, so spoiler up front, my husband is a lying cunt, and I'm not sure what to do. Oh, here we go. Immediately, the husband's the devil. Husband and wife, married several decades, maybe 10 years ago, I, the wife, effed up big time, midlife crisis, and was unfaithful. Husband caught me, gave me a really hard time over it, but I fought for our marriage. I proposed an open marriage, and he agreed. That doesn't sound like fighting the good fight for the marriage when you propose that your husband goes out and hooks up with other women. And you, of course, get to keep hooking up with other guys. That's not showing him how much you care by saying you can go out and F other women. Doesn't work that way. We came up with some rules that we both agreed to, including no unsafe sex, no sex in our family home unless we were playing together with others, always letting the other know where we were and who we were with, and no feelings. Okay, I get the always wearing protection, no problem there. I get the no hooking up in the home, no problem there. I get letting the other know where you are, okay, no problem there. But still, this whole idea as this way to fix things is ludicrous. So this goes okay. By this time, I was so over meeting random guys, and I'm a fairly monogamous by heart. You're fairly monogamous. The reason this all started because you were cheating. And I want to hear the midlife crisis thing, lady. And by the way, you kept hooking up with other dudes. So I have a long-term playmate usually. I found it tricky to see him often because I didn't want to make him my focus, but enjoyed our friendship. Friendship. I knew my husband had talked to and subsequently met up with a few different women. Only one really ever annoyed me because she seemed to not respect he had a family. We both caught COVID earlier this year. As far as I knew, neither of us had been on any play dates for a very long time as we were concerned about the health risks. I like how she refers to two play dates. Then everything changed a few weeks ago. He was in an accident, then in a coma for several weeks, then in a high dependency care. I've been by his side constantly, keeping his family and friends in touch, helping out with his job, handling everything at home while he's gone. Well, that's what a good loyal wife should do, and a good loyal husband would do with his wife. Don't act like you deserve a parade or anything, honey. I cried over him, celebrated when he opened his eyes, held him while he sobbed after realizing what he's been through. I guess I was the model wife. How on earth does she consider herself to be the model wife, giving her track record here? Oh, whoopee. You were there in the hospital for him like any decent spouse would do. He was the love of my life, and I moved heaven and earth to help him recover. Love of your life? Are you sure about that? I messaged my playmate immediately and said I'd be out of touch for an extended period of time as I wanted to give 100% to my husband. He was super supportive and understanding, and I did what I told him. My life revolved around my husband's care and recovery. I used up every single day of leave. I made sure our family was totally supported. I fought for him every single day. Well, you weren't fighting for him when you were hooking up with some dude 10 years ago, or fighting for him when you proposed an open marriage. But you were there for him in the hospital, so you deserve a parade. And then one day I got a call from a woman who I'll call Felicia. And Felicia was very distressed, obviously upset, and said that her and my husband had been seeing each other for 3 years, which I knew, and that they spoke each day without fail, whatever. And then she knew something had happened to him because he didn't contact her the next morning. She rang around hospitals and found him, but because she wasn't family, they wouldn't tell her anymore that he was in critical condition. Okay, this is girlfriend number one. She tried to go and see him, but as she didn't have the password that I, as his next of kin, had, and gave to the family and friends, she was unable to see him. So I'm listening to all of this, trying to view things from her perspective, and trying to empathize with her. Then she mentioned something about how close they were or something like that, and I just lost it. I told her that she needed to back off and know her place. That if he recovered, he could do what he wanted with her, but at the moment my main focus was his recovery and our family getting through this together. She whined and carried on about how I didn't understand how stressed she was, how her life was in pieces now, and begged me to show her some small kindness and allow her to see him. I hung up on her. Guys, if you already are thinking this is a SHIT show, you haven't seen anything yet. So let's review. Open marriage for all these years. To no surprise, this guy has a girlfriend. She's developed feelings for him. And that's going to happen with some people. And remember, this guy found her cheating. So obviously the open marriage wasn't his idea, it was hers. And so, well, just watch. Fast forward a few days ago, and my father-in-law calls me and says there's this woman causing a scene at the nurse's desk, saying that my husband wanted to see her and that had said that no, as they didn't recognize her, and she was behaving erratically. He described this woman, and I thought, you've got to be effing kidding me. It's Felicia. She was very distinctive look, and I had no doubt it was her. I still had her number from when she called me, so I rang her straight away, but she rejected the phone call. I messaged her to ask her why she was at the hospital. No answer. In the meantime, another staff member asked my husband if he knew her and wanted to see her, and he said yes. It's his lover. Honestly, probably he has more feelings for her than his wife, obviously. My father-in-law was not very happy. Messaged me and stayed in the room also. I messaged him back and just said if he recognizes her and is happy to have her there, then fine. Great for him to have another visitor, and I'm screaming inside. So are the in-laws aware of this arrangement they have? I can't imagine any in-laws being very happy about this. Seriously. And are they aware that she cheated and she's the reason that they had this effed up relationship? I had access to his phone the entire time. However, I respected his privacy and hadn't gone looking through it. Until now. Some stuff was freely accessible with no passwords. What I read made my blood run cold. I could see from his browser history that right before his accident, he'd been on a Hotmail account. I didn't even know they were in existence still. I didn't know his private email address, but I could tell he was going on there several times every day. Now I get to the bit some of you may have a moral issue with, and that's fair enough. It didn't sit right with me either, but I'd now gone into full mama bear mode, and I felt I needed to know what I was dealing with to protect my family. Yeah, sure, mama bear mode, so therefore I'm going to go through his phone and explore everything. How is that mama bear mode protecting your family and kids? After all, you're the one that cheated, causing your family to have problems. Ever think about that? You're the one that proposed an open relationship, open marriage that could cause more problems for your family and kids and all that. But you didn't think about, but you're going into full mama bear mode to snoop through his phone after when you had this opportunity to do so while he's in a coma. Okay. So I drove to the hospital, went into his room, and shut the door. He had been conscious for a week or so now, communicating normally, but got fatigued easily and had been very little short-term memory. I asked him straight up if Felicia had been to visit him. He couldn't remember. Then he started bawling and saying that he loved me and didn't want to hurt me. Dude, I get you're in a coma and you almost died and everything, but the bawling over her, this is her saying this. Could be told BS. You never know. And that Felicia was nothing. I kind of pretended like I was okay with her coming and saying, well, let's check your emails. I handed him his phone with a Hotmail username and password screwed up, and then he asked him to put in his username. It was quite hard for him, and he got frustrated, but eventually typed it in. He gave me the password and asked if I could take over. I wondered if he was maybe having an oh shit moment because that password was blatantly wrong. And then he said he just had no memory of it. I tried to reset the password, but the recovery email was one I didn't recognize. So I waited about 10 minutes, let him have a little nap, and then gently prodded him to give me his email address so I could help him log on to his email. Again, remember, this is to protect the family. He started giving me the same address, and I was like, oh no, remember honey, that's the wrong one. It's the one that starts with such and such. He looked confused for a minute and then gave it to me. I typed it in, and then he must have realized, oh crap, before he corrected it, and said he'd forgotten it and got it wrong. Then, of course, his password didn't work, and he's still all sorry, babe, I'm just exhausted. I told him it was all good, that I could help him another time. Because you see, the first email address he gave me seemed awfully familiar. I thought I remembered seeing a similar string of letters in his history. So I left the hospital and sat in the car outside. I tried again with the passwords he'd gotten me, with no luck. So then I went to reset the password, and bingo, it was an MSS code option. So I typed in his mobile number, pressed send, and bing, there was the code, and I was in. And here we go with all the great revelations she's going to have about what's been going on with him. And let's remember, it was her idea for the open marriage. She says, if you're still with me, thank you. So now I had access to his private emails, and after this Felicia turning up at the hospital, I felt zero guilt at all as I saw all her messages sitting there unanswered. I read them one by one, and my blood ran cold. Every single message was like a knife being pushed a few inches into my heart. You're probably thinking, I deserved it. Yes, we are. That nothing good can come from my spying on someone. And of course you're right, and I was disgusted with myself and decided to stop. What a load of crap. Remember, if I'm not mistaken, she's the open relationship was her idea. She had her lover or lovers, he had his. And I'm guessing they probably didn't give him a lot of personal information about them, and he didn't go into her phone and everything, but he's in the hospital, she's got his phone, he's out of it. She's going to go check and see to protect the family. She says, what did it matter? We were in an open relationship. I knew he'd been seeing this woman for a few years. No surprises. But there were surprises, lots of them. Horrible, dirty, nasty, hurtful surprises. I read something like how they effed all the time with no condom. And I felt so betrayed. But then the next email would be worse. She loved him and called him a cute little name, which was short for husband. And they saw each other all the time. Not just play dates, but him buying her coffee and lunch and meeting her at work. Going for long walks on the beach together, meeting her friends, her telling him in an email that she had broken down that day and finally told everyone that her partner was in critical condition and she didn't know how she would go on. That she had gotten a tattoo of his logo on her arm so she has something to remember him by. So is it any wonder that he spends enough time with another woman that they're going to start falling for each other? Okay, and keep in mind, this all started because the wife cheated and proposed this whole thing. Now, him hooking up with her without any protection, that ain't cool because obviously he's, I'm assuming, sleeping with the wife here. So that puts her in a bad position, and plus that's just stupid for him to do that. So that ain't cool. I agree there. But if she's upset that they're actually developing a relationship beyond just the sex, what do you expect? And you know what? You deserve this because you were awful to him. I was beyond angry. I sent her a text message telling her to call me immediately. While I waited, I kept looking through his emails, because she wasn't the only one wondering what had happened to him. Oh no, there were more. Many more. And they all had something in common. Well, apart from effing my husband, they all thought they were in an exclusive relationship with him and had a lot of emotional attachments to him. Well, her husband has turned into quite the Chad. Many, many, many women he's hooking up with, and they all think that he is their exclusive guy. Now, was this guy this way all the time, or did something just crack in him after finding out his wife was cheating and opening marriage? And is this his way of saying pretty much F you to her, F you to women in general? I don't know. Now, he's doing a lot of things I don't agree with here, but for her acting like the victim, you brought this on yourself, honey. Felicia hadn't contacted yet, so I just kept diving deeper and down this rabbit hole my husband had been burrowing away at. And then I found the Holy Grail, a spreadsheet of sorts, all very organized, each woman numbered, each woman ranked, contact details, and so much more. Wow, he was so much more a player than I ever thought. Way more. And then she rang me. By now I was almost over it. She had quickly ceased being my huge problem. She was one of many. Open relationship, if he's allowed to go out with other girls, multiple ones, so what's the issue here? Okay, fine, he's lying to them, so he is a scumbag in that sense, but that's not open relationship. He knew he'd seen other women. She had quickly ceased being my huge problem. She was one of many. So I told her that I'm certain that my husband made her feel special, that I knew that she felt that she was the only one. But I loved telling her that in fact that she was nothing special, that she was one of many, and that I knew everything about her. Oh, I'm sure that made the wife feel good saying that. And that if she ever visited or attempted to contact my husband again without him contacting her first, that I would let all her colleagues and family members know that her partner was in fact a married man who was playing her, along with several other women, and that new tattooed tribute to her lover that she so foolishly had done was going to be a lifelong testimony to her gullibility and entitledness, because it was actually my design and my legally owned logo. She says she ended up apologizing for the hospital visit, apologized for turning up when the family were visiting. Said she'd been ringing the hospital regularly on the off chance that she'd been getting an unwitting staff member to take the phone into him. When she finally got through, the dumbass said sure, she could visit. I told her I didn't care what she did with him in the future, but until he was declared medically and cognitively fit, that I was going to flex my full muscles as his legal appointed guardian if she ever comes near us one more time. What I say about in the beginning about this being a shit show? By this time, I'd seen and read things about my husband's antics that turned something off inside of me. I became cold and uncaring. Oh, because you weren't cold and uncaring before? I told her that if she kept this agreement, I would keep her updated if he went backwards in his recovery or if his circumstances drastically changed. I told her that I hoped that she was looking after her mental and physical health, as I was very concerned that A, she had just permanently marked her body with a fairly known trademark of a local family business, and B, that she's been having unprotected you-know-what with a man who had at least 5 other active ANAL and hoo-ha bareback SCX partners at the same time. I may also have questioned her as to why a relatively young woman was investing all her emotional energy into an older married man, but that's a story for another time. So he's hooking up with 5 different chicks that she knows of, unprotected backdoor action and regular action. Yeah, not very smart of this guy, and obviously I get her being pissed about that part. But if he wants to have lots of lovers, he can have lots of lovers, but I guess they all think that they're the only one, which makes him an asshole. I'll say that, but who knows his motives here? He could have lost it. This is his FU to his wife, FU to women in general. I don't know. But, like I said, a shit show. But we are not even close to digging into the dirty details, guys. She continues. So I finished that call, went home to family as if nothing had happened, and went into the hospital together. My dear husband didn't even seem to remember that I'd been there earlier, and certainly didn't seem to notice that my heart had turned into ice, and I could barely look at him in the face. As we left, I asked if I could just have a moment alone with him. Just a loving wife wanting to whisper sweet nothings into her husband's ear as she waits for him to recover. I bent over the bed and made sure he could hear every word. And I told him that I knew everything, that he had broken every single agreement we had made, that he had lied to me almost daily for the last few years. Your idea, honey. That still made me sick to think of what I did to him and our marriage, and I would never forgive myself. But I had believed him when he said that we were going to grow old together. Did he say we were going to grow old together before he caught you effing some other dude, which led to this whole mess to begin with? That he, the husband, was a dirty, creepy, lying piece of crap, and that I was going home to read through all his emails and couldn't wait to read more about his lies. He just looked vacantly at me, started blubbering, and told me he loved me and he was so sorry. I assured him he would be, and walked out. At this point, this guy just should have been like, hey, whatever. The marriage has been dead anyway. As if they shouldn't have divorced years ago. I think it's a good time they now cut ties. So then I had to pretend at home that everything was okay, that I just had some stuff to do on my computer. And in fact, it was okay because this calmness descended upon me as I started opening every picture, watching every video, reading every email. I became hardened. I even laughed at a few times as he was trying his hand at being a dom, apparently, and getting some of these women to call him daddy. Oh God. And then some photos and videos started grabbing my attention. Wait, is that my bedspread? Is that the rails of my bed that woman is hogtied to? Are they my effing fancy stockings that are tied to her, tying her to the bed? Is that my lingerie she's wearing? And then I checked the timestamps. Is that seriously the night I had to drive several hours across the state to rush to my parents who were in the hospital in heart failure? Leaving at 1 a.m. as my loving husband helped me hastily pack, filled up the car with gas, bought some snacks, and helped me stay awake. Leaving my family peacefully asleep in bed just a few meters down the hallway. Yep, I cross-checked everything. They're not smart, these two. Enough photos and videos of the night to fill PORN Hub's front page, including their faces, the clock, the alarm clock, and date and time. Wow. So this guy, like a lot of people, kept record of all his adventures. Pictures, videos, all that. Stupid. Now, again, not cool that he was doing this in the house. And obviously, when the kids were down the hall, I'm against that. But you see this mess was created. It would have been just better they got a divorce. But look what we have here. And I can't blame the guy for going buck wild as an F you to her and all that. But still, he wanted to do that. Divorce her. Move on. Then he can go buck wild all he wants to different women. But at the end of the day, this is entertaining. And she brought this shit on herself. She says, then another. Now, by the way, I'm going to have to speak in a lot of code here, guys, because this is going to get quite graphic at this point. Then another picture, getting the world's sloppiest BJ from the world's most effing ugly granny. Big spit-filled frothy gobby when he was out fishing. Out of mobile range, one town over. How did I know? Timestamps, baby. Emails. Plus being able to check where his phone was that night. When I rang and rang and rang. Something I'd never done before, because his mom had died. You know, I thought he might like to know. It was a fairly significant date, so of course, seeing that in the saved items really caught my eye. And then I remember that night when he got home, all bright and happy, bit disheveled, looking but cocky as shit, wondering why I was sitting out in the rain crying, but getting me to hold off telling him my news until he had a piss and got something to drink. Yeah, a few flashbacks from that fishing trip tonight. How stupid was I really? Well, if he went fishing, or said he went fishing, but he was hooking up, you're in an open relationship, I don't see the problem. He just probably didn't want her to know the extent of the hooking up he was doing. And at the time, he was at a mobile range. He didn't know somebody was dying. Another classic, extremely detailed photos and videos of him pounding away at what looked like a diarrhea-stained butthole, his crap-stained sausage, hammering away and occasionally ramming into what looked like a prolapsed hoo-ha. Well, that's fucking disgusting. Unprotected ANAL to hoo-ha yamo. But check out the date and time. What do we have here? Another fishing trip night. But this one was extra special, because this night I was home feeling pretty miserable, very crampy, with a very heavy period. A period that got heavier and heavier. I remember running a bath to try and ease the pain, and the bath just filling with blood, including ugly clots. I know this is gross, but I'm reading it. I start crying and moaning in agony. A caring child rang their dad. Dad, Mom is in pain, and I think I need to call an ambulance. Can you come home? No, I'll be an hour or two, at least, even if I leave now. Of course, I now know he was 20 minutes away. So an ambulance was called. I had to stuff towels between my legs. I was replacing towels every few minutes. By the time the ambulance got here, I was apparently as white as a sheet and cold to the touch. So all this was going on while he was doing that grotesque act she was describing. He checked out. He was done. That's an example of someone that has done with her and essentially wants to punish her. Not cool, especially with the child there. But you see how gone and destroyed and lost he is after the cheating thing. And, we'll fix the marriage. We'll have an open marriage. You can go F a bunch of women because I love you so much. This guy was gone. I don't agree with what he did, but she brought a lot on herself. Anyway, she says here all this shit was going on. They couldn't get a line into me in the ambulance and had to slash my legs near my groin and get a cannula in that way. I remember hearing Dad coming as fast as he can, rather ironic now as I can watch their video and see what he was doing at the exact moment with thanks to timestamps and a heavily narrated amateur PORN session. Watching our child crying their eyes out, terrified as they watched the ambulance door shut on their hemorrhaging mother, and they were left alone in the house strewn with blood-soaked stains, sticky backs from ECG pads, syringe caps, failed IV lines, and discarded IV bag. So nice for me now to look back and reminisce about that night. So good of him and the prolapsed crapping SLUT to have given me undeniable evidence. The best part, you hear his phone ring the first time we tried to contact him, and him saying just ignore it, it's no one, yep, no one. So, like a typical gal, she's very wordy. But you're getting the point here. I think she's writing this for therapy. It goes on. There are other photos that I discovered, videos and emails that I've been able to match up to other occasions, like the beautiful family getaway we once had, full of love and laughter. In fact, a photo taken during that getaway is the one I chose to print out and one of this on the hospital wall. To remind him of our love, of a wonderful time, I ripped that one up in front of him yesterday. You see, about 5 minutes before he took that photo, he messaged one of his women who had asked him how his trip was going. The company is terrible, he told her, and then proceeded to tell her how he wished he was instead in our bedroom, with her tied to the bed, wearing his wife's stockings again, while he slapped her around and she called him daddy. Talk about a kick in the nuts for a happy memory. Yup, in the bin. Well, obviously by him doing this in their own bed and putting his wife's lingerie on these girls and tying her up with the wife's stockings, again, is a giant F-you to the wife. He was too weak to end it with her. Or maybe this is his whole master plan to punish her secretly. I don't know. But she is not innocent in this. I don't feel bad for her. But she's looking for a lot of pity. Writing this long enough to make him to be a total demon. And I guarantee a lot of people are going to see this guy as a total demon. This guy's no saint. But freaking mess. It goes on. So I finally come to the point of my post. Oh, after 12 pages of this shit, you finally come to your point, honey? I find myself in a moral dilemma. I'm entangled with this man in every way possible after decades of marriage, a family, extended family relationships, friends, our business. And he's laying in a hospital bed, helpless on a long road to recovery. And I've been there every single day. I wipe his butt when he craps himself. I change his piss-soaked sheets. When he wets himself, I shave his face, moisturize his hands and feet, do his physio exercises, cut his nails, give his family and friends regular updates, run our businesses, wash his favorite blankets, pillowcases, and all his clothes. Okay, that is a hell of an endeavor, and a loyal wife would do that for a husband, and a husband would do that for a wife. But you're no saint, honey. And yes, he was doing this all behind the scenes. You should have divorced a long time ago. I meet with his doctors and nurses, rehab team. I attend his every need, or at least I did. The last 2 visits, I've been a total B. Yesterday, I told him everything, showed him the screenshots on my phone, and told him he disgusted me. Told him that since he hadn't used condoms, I was going to contact my play partner and invite him to our house, where we would F like crazy on my husband's side of the bed, and I'd be milking the biggest cream pie ever out of my lover's COCK. My husband said, "You do what you have to do." Yeah, he's done with her. My play partner couldn't believe it. Not only was I back in touch, but he was going to visit me at our own home for the first time. Hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn. Plus, I had another special surprise for him, and it was amazing. I nearly passed out. I had from the O I had while I was writing him. The toy rammed between us on my love parts. Me riding up and down so his balls were squelching inside of me. And then the mother load of love juice straight up towards my cervix as I came on his sausage. My muscles clamping down hard around his spasming sausage, and me catching a vision of heaven as my eyes rolled back into my head. Guys, this is for real. She says, and our sweaty bodies entangled for hours after on my marital bed. She says, just kidding. Making out, touching, caressing. Just enjoying our friendship, thankful for each other. Totally blissed out by our steamy connection and the beautiful way we just fell straight back into our natural S-word connectedness even after this break. And then he left. No declarations of love, no guilt, no expectations. I'd broken some rules, but that was my decision, and whilst my lover benefited from it, I haven't told him why. Because you see, I know how to keep a secret. I know how to play the game. I know how to walk the fine line that's needed in an open marriage. I manage my secret life very well, and I know my boundaries. Yeah, she's hiding it because she wants to hide his inner interest. The husband kept record of it for obviously his own reasons. Anyway, yada yada. Yeah, funny that she's writing yada yada because this whole thing has been a giant entertaining yada yada. He leaves. I go and print out a replacement picture for my husband's hospital wall. Oh gee, what pictures is she going to put on the husband's hospital wall? I don't shower. I don't freshen up. I get to the hospital with a large bag of neatly washed and folded clothes and blankets for my husband. I greet the staff. I go into his room and close the door. He asked me how my day has been. I told him, effing amazing, and thank you for asking. I told him how I had my lover on his side of the bed that morning, that I effed his brains out, and he shot huge amounts of warm, sticky, you-know-what, into my hoo-ha. I told him that it was actually still there, trickling out a little bit, and I could feel my hoo-ha all swollen and squelchy as I walked. Wow, she's a lady. And I told him I could still taste my lover's you-know-what in my mouth. Good for you, he said. She says, it was, I assured him. The only thing we didn't do was document the whole thing with photos and videos like you did. Because we have our pride. I call bullshit. Some of these stories I go over, the gals keep record of all these things somewhere. I told him I'd print out a new poster for the wall of his loved ones. He said, that's nice. Then I showed him. His eyes sort of darted back and forth in that funny way people who have fatigue after an injury do. He says, that's not very nice. I point out my favorites to him. The one of him the night his mom died, the night I hemorrhaged and was taken to the hospital, the night I made a desperate trip to try and reach a family member before they died of heart failure, and just to help his memory out, I added some text, just to point out important things to do with our trust and our open marriage agreement. Things like, oh, let's see, that's our bed. That's my favorite bedspread. That's a woman hogtied to our bed with my stockings, meters away from our sleeping family. That's my lingerie on one of them he is wearing, which I since found bundled up with skid marks inside the panties. So many things to point out to him, but he started looking away, almost as if he didn't want me to proudly display this poster at the end of his bed. Hell hath no fury. And then our child arrived, asked what we're doing, and I said reliving some old memories. I smiled as I took the poster over to the wall where there was now a gap. The look of horror my husband shot me. Oh damn, I forgot the blue tack. Silly me. I tucked it back into my bag. Maybe I'll show him again tomorrow, or maybe tomorrow could be video day. Who knows? The sad truth is I'm so effed up right now in my head and heart, and he's so vulnerable lying there in the hospital bed. And I'm so filled with hatred and revulsion for what he's done. It frightens me to think what I'm capable of. So yeah, how do I manage the situation? Any advice appreciated. Well, after 15 pages of her story, and I am not kidding, 15 pages on a large font so I can read it here in the car, there you go. Like the guys, like Dave, the dude that sent me the story, it is a shitstorm. So what's the moral of this story? Open marriages don't work. Don't do them. You cheat, okay, end the marriage. Because if you do this, look what's going to happen. Someone's going to be hurt. Someone's going to take it to a whole new level. This guy did. I'm convinced he lost it. essentially was doing all this without protection in their home with her gear just to punish her, even though, you know, he wasn't showing her. That's what I think. Now, was this guy an a-hole because he was letting his other gals think that they were the only one, all that? Yeah. But then I think he was just kind of like saying an F you to all gals after what happened to him. But his wife, I don't want to hear how, I don't want you to think that you're supposed to get some kind of pity, because this all started because of you. You're the one that cheated. You're the one that brought up the open marriage. No woman that truly loves their guy is going to cheat on their guy. No woman that truly loves their guy is going to want an open relationship, especially to fight for the marriage, fight for the family. What a load of crap. Okay? Now, what goes around comes around, and so she learned, look what happened. Didn't work out. So, open marriages don't work. At the end of the day, you end it. And the second somebody brings up the open marriage, believe me, it's over. It's best to move on. All this could have been avoided if they simply just, okay, it's not going to work. You cheated for an obvious reason, beyond just a midlife crisis thing. Parting ways. So there you go, guys. Quite the shitstorm, as Dave and as well I definitely think here. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below and what you think about this. Thank you to all the guys that actually watched all, 35 minutes and 42 seconds of this. I appreciate that. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.